Welcome back to the channel. So today we have a Ford Ranger Wildtrak. This is a 2022 model. This is brand new. And today we are going to be installing a red and grey Anderson plug. The red is for AL-KO stability and the grey is for battery charging on a Caravan. And we're going to run that through ignition for a relay. So I just want to show you how to do it. So to start with, we need an ignition trigger. And we've already done some wiring because I'm also fitting a Safety Dave reverse camera for the Caravan as well. That's in a separate video, so go check that out. But we've used the same pickup for the ignition. So in the main fuse box, driver's side, there's a little trim. And literally you just get a little trim tool and you just pry this and it just unclips. There's a clip there, and clip over that side, you can see there, and it just flaps down. It's on this little plastic hinge which will break eventually, and then there's the main fuse box. Now at the bottom, right at the bottom, there's a 20 amp fuse, a yellow one, and that's on ignition. So you pull this out, pull that fuse out, and we've used a fuse adapter, a fuse tap. There's few names for it, but I'll actually pull it out and show you, because Ford it's called a micro fuse, and you can see the pins are really close together. There's the original 20 amp, and then there's a 7.5 amp in the fuse tap, and that's our trigger to the relay, which is pin 86, that's going to be in the engine bay. So the great thing with these is you're not tapping into any of the wiring, cutting wiring. We're literally just going into the fuse box, so it's nice and safe and clean and simple and easily reversible as well. So I'll just press that back in. There you go. This lead here is going up to my Safety Dave monitor. As I say, that's in a separate video. And then this red and yellow, it's only a 3mm. This is going to be ran across the dash, through the firewall, up into the engine bay, where we're going to start wiring up the relay ready, and I'll show you that next. So I've just pulled it through, drop the glove box down. It's just 2 lugs you press in either side, really simple. And up there, you see that harness? I've ran it in split conduit just to protect it, and it runs up over the top. That was the only opening I could find to allow that big lug on the camera lead to run through. So that just runs through there, and then we're going to cable tie it around, and then I'll show you where it goes through the firewall. So going through the firewall, there's a little grommet. This is on the passenger side, and there's a little grommet down there. I've already pulled the cable through. As you can see, where that cable goes through that big rubber grommet, there was this. And this is pre-drilled or pre-made hole, ready for any accessories. And literally you get a knife and you cut this part off that sits right there, and then that will give you the hole. I used a chaser and I went through this way and taped my harness on and pulled it back through. So fiddly as hell, but doable. And here it is over this side. So there's my harness here, and it runs across and it goes up through the grommet. So now I've got 2 leads. This is the camera lead that's going down to the back, and this is from that fuse box that's going to go to our relay pin 86 for the trigger to switch on the power to the grey Anderson plug. So we'll do that next. So this is the relay that we've used for the grey Anderson plug. Reason being is because it's going to be running the fridge on the Caravan. If you wire it direct to the battery, straight to the battery terminal, then it's live all the time. Whilst you're driving, absolutely fine. But if you pull over and stop for a couple of hours, if it's a freeway fridge, they draw up to 15-20 amps. that'll flatten this battery within probably 30 minutes. So we always like to put them onto a ignition relay, so it cuts the power when you turn the vehicle off. And these are the relays that we use in Australia. So it's a 70 amp 12 volt 4-pin relay, and on these Rangers we've put it, there's an earth point right there, so I've just used that earth point and mounted the relay. Then our power main battery supply runs round, and it runs up here. I don't know if you can see where my thumb is. I've actually used a 50 amp automatic resettable circuit breaker, which you could buy from any auto shop, and then that just runs up. And this is a spare stud, this one here. These are all power outs, and there's a fuse on that one, but this one is actually a blank, it's a spare, so we've used that, which is handy. And then also for the red Anderson plug, that has to be wired direct to the battery, so we don't run that through ignition relay, and then we just use a normal spade insulated fuse holder. 30 amp fuse will go in there, and then we're using 5mm cable, which is the blue, and that's going to go to our red Anderson plug. Then this red is 8 BNS cable rated at 75 amps, and that's going to go to our grey Anderson plug. So that's just on pin 87, this one here. Then our ignition is ran from that fuse that we used inside the cab. There is a fuse box here that you could tap into, but I just don't like to, because we've got to run the cable outside, so you'd have to cut a little gap into the lid to make it click back on, and I don't like that, so we always go inside. And then earth is straight to on top of the shunt. Make sure you come this side of the shunt, not here. Always go here or onto the body right there. So really easy. And these are our two cables, and we're just gonna, I've already ran it down to the back, so I'm going to cut my lengths, and then I'm going to run that in split conduit, and then it will run down there through the engine bay. And then there's already a harness running across the chassis going down to the back for your rear lights and your trailer plug. We're just going to follow that and cable tie it to that. So I'll show you what we do at the end. Okay, so we've ran our cables all the way down to the back, just following the wiring harness along the chassis. It's just a case of take your time. Trickiest bit was getting over the fuel tank, but it's all doable. Now the wiring's at the back, as you can see. There's my harness here, and this is for the grey Anderson plug, and this is for my red. So it's a thinner wire because it's a lighter load. And the earths we didn't run from the front, we picked up at the back, and I'll show you right there, there's an earth point, so we just used that, and that's earth straight to the chassis. So our two earths run down along with this harness, and then I've separated the wires and taped it up, and so they run into their own. Now on the Rangers there's not much room to add Anderson plugs, and I really didn't want to drill into the bumper, which you can, I've seen people do it, but lucky enough I found this little bracket that fits over the existing bracket of the tow bar, and that just sits there. The idea being is our red Anderson will sit upside down there, and our grey one will sit upward on the other side, so they sit together nicely, so it's nice and neat from the back. So we've got our red and white, blue and white, sorry, blue power, white is earth, and we're just gonna solder in the Anderson lugs. So we're gonna fit the lugs now, and what we normally do, I've done a video on this, a completely separate one, so go check that out if you wanted to see how I do it. And basically it's called flooding. So instead of crimping these down, which I've found in the past they fracture and over time they'll snap out, is we basically fill this up with solder using a little blowtorch and just push the wire into it and let it set. And there's no crimping, you can do it anywhere as long as you've got a little blowtorch and a soldering iron. So I'll just quickly show you how to do it. What I'm going to do is just get that nice and hot. Trying to do this one-handed isn't easy. We'll get it nice and hot. And run some solder down it. See? I'd normally have the blowtorch on it whilst running the solder, but I'm trying to film it and do it at the same time. Bit more. Don't go all the way to the top off as it'll overrun. No, I do. And just hold it there till it sets. It'll take a little while because we've got that really hot. There it goes. There you go. And there we go, all installed. Just stacked on top of each other and just nut and bolted straight on the side. Simple. So this is live all the time. This is on ignition, so it only runs when the car's running. And then just, I've got to tape up that and cable tie the main harness up out the way. But yeah, job done. Hope you like it. Please thumbs up and subscribe, and yeah, we'll get on to the next video. Cheers.